It was a moment that no one, not even Dylan Wang himself, could have fully prepared for. The star who had captivated millions with his roles on screen, his effortless charisma, and his cool, unshakable persona, found himself utterly undone by the quiet arrival of one small person who would change his life forever. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the most beautiful, raw, and life-changing moments from your favorite stars. Dylan Wang, known to fans worldwide as the dashing Dao Mingxi from Meteor Garden, has always been a figure of composed confidence. He walks red carpets with ease, commands attention with a single look, and holds his audience in the palm of his hand. But this was different. No cameras. No scripts. No retakes. Just real life. Real emotion. And the kind of vulnerability that transcends fame. As the soft morning light filtered into the hospital room, Dylan stood quietly by the Ma door, his hands slightly trembling, his breath caught somewhere between anticipation and awe. Just a few hours earlier, he had paced this very hallway, heart racing, trying to steady himself for what was to come. Friends had told him that fatherhood was transformative. That the moment you meet your child for the first time is indescribable. But words, he would learn, are never enough. Then came the cry. Small. Sharp. Pure. A sound that pierced through the sterile silence of the room and went straight to his heart. He turned instinctively toward the nurse, who was gently wrapping the newborn in a soft blanket, swaddling them with practiced care. Time slowed. Every heartbeat was louder. Every breath deeper. And as the nurse looked up and nodded softly, he knew, it was time. He stepped forward, cautiously at first, like he was approaching something sacred. And in a way, he was. Lying there, blinking up at the new world, was the child he and his partner had waited months to meet. The culmination of whispered late-night conversations, quiet preparations, and secret fears. The baby was so small, yet so complete, fingers curled delicately, lips moving as if trying to speak without words. And then it happened. As Dylan reached out, almost afraid to touch, the nurse gently placed the baby in his arms. The weight was light, but the moment was heavy. His eyes, usually guarded, flooded instantly with tears. Not the kind of tears that come from pain or sadness, but the kind that overwhelm you when your heart has more love than it can hold. He didn't try to hide it. He couldn't. His shoulders shook as he held his child close to his chest, tears streaming freely down his face. For someone who had always carried himself with composure and charm, Dylan was suddenly stripped of all pretense. He wasn't an actor. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't a public figure. He was just a man, just a father, holding his baby for the first time, falling apart in the most beautiful way. The internet exploded with support, but he didn't seem to care about the viral moment. What mattered to him now was being present. Being real. Being there for every giggle, every cry, every blink. His priorities had shifted. He no longer measured success in views or ticket sales. Success, now, was making his child smile. He spoke about the fears he had carried, about whether he'd be a good father, about the responsibility, about the legacy he wanted to build. Not the legacy of fame, but of love. Of safety. Of presence. He said, fame fades. But the way you love your child? That lasts forever. It was a side of Dylan the world had rarely seen. Vulnerable. Open. Grounded. He wasn't trying to inspire. But in showing his truth, he did. Fans from around the world began sharing their own stories, photos of their children, videos of first words, tales of the moment they too were forever changed. Dylan had unknowingly opened a door, not just into his life, but into a universal experience, the quiet, beautiful chaos of parenthood. He was no longer just a character on screen. He was one of us. A human being navigating the joys and challenges of loving something more than yourself. As months passed, Dylan found a rhythm. He returned to work slowly, selectively, only choosing projects that allowed him to balance fatherhood. He wasn't chasing the spotlight anymore. He didn't need it. The light in his life now came from a different source, the tiny hands that reached for him in the morning, the soft coos that greeted him at night. He spoke less about his career and more about bedtime stories. About the magic of seeing the world through a child's eyes. About how becoming a father had taught him patience, humility, and a new kind of strength. The kind that isn't loud or flashy, but steady, enduring, and deeply rooted in love. And through it all, he remained grateful. For the journey. For the growth. For the unexpected beauty of a moment that began with tears and bloomed into something profound. Because that's the truth, isn't it? The biggest changes often come quietly. In a room with no cameras. In the first cry of a newborn. In the tears of a man who never knew he could feel so much. Dylan Wang broke down in tears upon meeting his child, but what broke was not weakness. It was the shell that had once held him back from a deeper love. A richer life. A more honest self. And from those tears, a new chapter began. One filled not with scripts and lights, but with bedtime giggles, tiny footsteps, and a love that would last a lifetime. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to subscribe for more true moments that remind us what really matters. And remember, no matter who you are or where you're from, love, especially the kind that begins with a single cry, changes everything.